The concepts I'll be covering in this video are things I picked up while learning and teaching Guilty Gear Xrd. Despite the context, these philosophies have become surprisingly useful not only in other fighting games, but in my life outside of fighting games as well.
Got your toothbrush?
Yeah.
Deodorant?
Of course.
Controller?
It's a hitbox. Where are we going again?
We're going to a fighting game tournament.
Then why are we in the mountains?
It's a metaphor.
A metaphor for what?
The fighting game community has classically been a subject of hyperbole. To many an outsider, including myself at one point, it's gained a reputation for elitism, trash talk, and even bullying. There's plenty of evidence out there to support some of these notions too. Much like any popular media though, outsiders don't often get to see the best side of it. Whether you're attending a local or one of the majors held throughout your country, the thought of competing in a tournament can be intimidating. You'd like to jump in to test your skills against strong players, but you aren't sure how. You want to meet other like-minded enthusiasts, but you're nervous about how to approach it. Here's some practical advice on what to expect and how to get the most out of your tournament experience. Sign up to compete, not just spectate. Facing that initial fear of failure is a big step. Overcoming any fear of putting yourself out there should be considered your first win. For all of your troubles, you'll probably still go 0-2. And that's fine. Remind yourself that it's the first of many data points in an ongoing series. There's certainly value to be found outside of the official results. If there's a game room, you'll definitely want to go there and play casual matches. This is a rare opportunity for you to play offline against a variety of playstyles across all skill levels. If you can't find an open setup, wait a few feet behind one without too much of a crowd near it. Between their games, speak up and ask something like,
May I play winner?
Or,
Can I get next?
Typically you'll get responses along the lines of, after this next game, or after best of 3. This won't always be the case, and if it doesn't pan out, go find another and try again. More often than not, you'll be sitting down to play in no time. Do not preface any match with,
I'm really bad.
or some other apology about your self-perceived current level of skill. Best case scenario, nobody cares, as most people are more concerned with themselves and just getting some games in. Worst case scenario, if you do happen to beat the other player, your self-deprecation will completely backfire as an insult to them. If you finish a set with a player who soundly defeats you, consider asking them for some quick advice. Before you move on, be sure to thank them for the games. Trash talk. The spirit of competition is strong, and that spirit often permeates into social interactions as well. Fortunately, if you're new to the tournament scene and keep a low profile early on, you won't attract much attention. It happens though, and it's not going anywhere. It's part of the culture, and for good reason too. The more fragile your ego, the more susceptible you are to being affected by the words of others. Familiarity within many social circles often manifests as teasing among the core group. Through this, the group reinforces and strengthens itself socially from the inside out, most without even realizing it. They've effectively prepared themselves to band together and take on any opposition to their values. Not responding poorly can earn you a basic level of respect that will only increase as you improve at the game. Top 8 is the main event at most fighting game tournaments, so stick around until the end. It's where you'll get to see the best of us perform under the highest pressure conditions. The pressure of competition strengthens our resolve, and we only become better by risking failure. If you aren't putting yourself at risk of failing, you will never be challenged, and you will learn nothing. so get good and comfy with the pain of failure to the point of facing it without fear. Any inconsequential amount of hurt pride you may endure is greatly outweighed by the benefits. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that everyone is already familiar with the fable, The Tortoise and the Hare. The common interpretation of its lesson is that the hare's own hubris allowed the tortoise to win in the end. We can find another lesson worth considering if we break it down a bit further. The hare is fixated on their current ability in relation to the tortoise, hanging on the notion of their status in comparison to others. The tortoise focuses only on constant and steady progress, caring little for their ability in relation to the competition. In varying degrees, there is no denying that we compete against others to win. Despite the many who have already given in to apathy, we all have wanted to win at one point or another. In order to best do that, we once again need to be focused on ourselves before anything else. There is no avoiding some amount of self-judgment in this regard, although by what metric we choose to judge ourselves makes a huge difference. If you compare yourself to everyone else, unless you're already the best, it's easy to feel defeated before you even try. This is the primary culprit fueling the "why should I enter a tournament just so I can lose" mentality. By comparing our rate of change between current self and past self, we get a much more practical metric that steadily benefits us over the long term. Unless you're always taking first place, you will be bested. And it's going to happen. A lot. There is always someone better than you. And that's a good thing. We can use it to our advantage. Staring at the top doesn't give us much. So focus just above where you're at, because that's where the next step is. Select any player who is better than you, but close enough in skill that you can at least visualize beating them. Maybe you played a long set against this person, but you struggled to take even a single game from them. Now, whenever you play them, you can gauge your progress based on that person's current skill in relation to your own. It helps if you know the person, so that you might work directly with them, but it isn't necessary. As long as you have multiple opportunities to play against them. The point is to have a focused goal and a moving target. This is a good opportunity to study the character matchup too, as it typically gives you a single character to focus on. If they're beating you, they're likely better at adapting than you are. Aim to solve their playstyle as it evolves with your own. It's as simple as being focused on surpassing an individual, or them advancing out of your reach, and then moving on to another. Although unpleasant, research suggests that mutual pain creates stronger social bonds. The research involved putting a group of subjects through a physically painful exercise that required a small amount of teamwork. The other group were given a similar exercise but with no pain involved. When surveyed about their experience, the data showed little difference between their positive or negative emotional responses. Although answers like, "I feel part of this group," and "I feel a sense of loyalty to the others," ranked much higher for the painful exercise. If you're like me though, and would rather not bond over salt, here's 3 pieces of useful advice I've received when it comes to making connections with others. 1. Don't talk negatively about others behind their backs. It says way more about you than it does them. 2. Offer generally positive or at least constructive energy to your interactions. It's much more attractive than the alternative. 3. most people love talking about their own experiences. Ask them questions, show genuine interest, and they might just love you too. Everyone wants to see their favorite game prosper in the tournament scene. If someone invites you to try a game you've never or barely played, maybe take them up on their offer. You can learn a lot from other games, and consider the fact that someone tolerates you enough that they'd invite you to play a game with them. As far as I can tell, the only two prerequisites for membership in the fighting game community are you care enough about your game to put in some effort, and you do your best not to be completely insufferable. It goes without saying that fighting games and their tournament scenes are not for everyone. It's a shame, though, when someone who might find a home there gives up due to a lack of confidence. The quality of social interaction scales inversely with the size of the social group. The Guilty Gear community is big enough that there's some real competition to be had, on and offline, yet small enough that most players I've met have been quite helpful and welcoming. I haven't been competing in Guilty Gear for very long, but some of the greatest friends I have today I met within that short time. Settling rivalries with tests of skill instead of violence, cheering each other to victory and helping each other through defeat. All of these things have created a bond and level of mutual respect that I've found difficult to match anywhere else. You'll meet many different people during your climb. Some you'll pass, and some will pass you. No matter the skill gap, just remember that there is something to be gained from every encounter. We'll see you out there.